Pro Team 175 TF version 2.0. How's it going? Well, I've made some changes to the TF. This is a 2019, and I did another recording on this some time ago, a couple of years ago maybe, and thought I'd revisit this because I made a few changes, and thought you guys would be interested in it. The biggest changes I've made are through electronics, and as you all know, or maybe you don't know, I had Helix 7s on this boat, and you know, I really do like these bass trackers, but I'll tell you what, they do come with less than ideal electronics. One little fish finder Lowrance back here on the console, and nothing up front. So if you really want to get serious about catching fish and knowing what your lakes look like underneath the water, you got to get some good electronics. Anyway, I had Helix 7s on these, and they were great. I mean, I have no problem with Helix 7s whatsoever. The problem is that I had one that was networkable and one that was not networkable. And, you know, over the years, I'm kind of slow, you know, and it takes me a while to catch on to things, but it finally dawned on me that networking the electronics on any fishing boat is the optimum, and you really want to strive to do that. So, you know what I did? I just took the Helix 7s and the ram mounts that I use for them, stuck them out on eBay, and they sold very quickly. And you know, I mean, I offered a pretty good price, and you know, compared to these things are now going for about, the Gen 4s are going for almost $1,000 now. It's absolutely crazy. But that's another story we can talk about in a little bit. So anyway, what I've done to this boat is I've upgraded the sonar to Helix 10s. You know, these things have just about everything that you'd ever want. And these are mega side imaging plus mega down imaging plus chirp, GPS, you name it. These units have it. And you know, my local sporting goods store, Jay's Sporting Goods, I will give them a shout out because they do a pretty good job. They're in 2 places in northern Michigan, but they had them for pretty good prices, and even better than eBay or Amazon or any of those. So I opted to get these so I could network the 2 fish finders together, and then I added a few more things to this boat. We'll go around the boat and kind of show you what's going on. It's a beautiful day here today. You know, the leaves have just been out for about a week and a half now. Finally getting into a little bit of summer. This is May 31st, 2022. So 2 things that I did up front here was to, if you can see this says iPilot iLink, and the one I had on before, it's a nice Ultrex, can't complain, but it was an iPilot, and at the time I put that on several years ago, I didn't realize that it was not networkable. And you know, if you're going to integrate with these Humminbirds, you really need to have your trolling motor talk to the rest of the electronics too. And in addition to that, I just couldn't help myself, but I just had to get a Mega 360 imaging transducer for this boat. I couldn't be happier with it. I did have it out for a test after I first got it. And as you can see, maybe up here, you see that screw there? Well, there's another one on the bottom. And after I came in the first time, this screw down here was just kind of dangling there. And I said, that's kind of weird. And so I checked it out, tried to screw it back in. There's nothing to screw it into. So I got on the phone with Minn Kota or with Humminbird and said, okay guys, here's my problem. And they said, send it back in. And of course, I shuddered at that. This was the time when the smallmouth were just starting to come up in stage for spawn. Water temperature was 52 degrees. I was excited about getting out on the lake. And oh boy, I had to send this thing back in. But to their credit, from the time I shipped it off to them and them getting it back to me, it was only about 8 days. So I got it reinstalled again. And you know the good thing about these units is that you can look over here. You can see that the transducer connection and the power connection are right here. And so I didn't have to tear apart the boat to disconnect the power and all this other stuff. So it makes it very easy to change out this Mega 360 imaging transducer. And these are pretty cool for those guys that aren't aware of these. This has a spinning, almost like radar transducer on it that shoots straight out in front of the boat. So you can see everything in a 360 degrees around the boat, which is very, very, very cool to have. I got convinced that I had to have one of these after watching about a million YouTubes on them. And the good thing about these and the iPilot link connected up with the Humminbirds via the network is that I can sit in the back of the boat here and fish and keep my eye on the 360 imaging that's networked to this console Helix 10. And that makes a lot of sense. Why would I want to do that? Well, the thing with the Ultrex trolling motors, I mean, one of the greatest benefits and one of the earliest ones was this concept of spot lock. Now, the only thing about spot lock is that it will always head you into the wind. If I've got the wind coming to my back and I want to put spot lock on that location and I set the spot lock, that boat's going to turn around and and head right into the wind, and then it'll sit there for as long as you want it to sit there. So sometimes if you don't want to cast into the wind from the front of the boat, which is, you know, sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending on what kind of reel you're using, I can come back here and fish it, and then keep an eye on my depth sounder on the console to find out what's around me. So it's a very cool option. If anyone gets an opportunity, I would say definitely network your boat and network all the electronics you can, whether you use Humminbird or Garmin. Doesn't really matter. They're all good stuff, but I'm just kind of a Humminbird guy from ages back. So let me jump into the boat and show you a few other things that I've done. Okay, not really a big deal, but some things I didn't show you on the first run around that I did on this boat after I purchased it. But you can see down here that, you know, with these Humminbird units, you want to use GPS, you've got to have a GPS antenna. And great things to have. And actually they come with the Mega 360 as well, but I didn't need to use it, so if anybody wants one, let me know. I can send it off to you. But the only problem with these is that when you have this on, and it's on all the time, because the recommendation from the manufacturer is it gets wired directly to the battery, which means it's on all the time. And it's a drawdown on the battery for sure, especially if you're not going to be out for a few weeks or so. You're going to have to check the level of your batteries, make sure that they haven't been drawn down too much. But the worst thing about these is they totally trash your garage door opener. Garage door opener does not like Bluetooth. And it took me a long time to figure out why my garage door would not work anymore. And I put two and two together and said, well, the only thing different is that I've got the boat back. I used to store it at the dealership, but I don't do that anymore. But once I figured that, I had to figure out, okay, what do I do? So I put an on-off switch here that would that this antenna is linked into, as well as the depth sounder. And so I can just switch that off. Garage door works fine. So that's something for you guys to think about. I didn't spend too much time on the Hydro Wave that I got, but this really throws an audible signal into the water of the sounds of different bait fish, whether they're deep or whether they're all wild up or whether they're shallow water. And you know, it's just one more thing that can help, you know, bring fish to you. And of course, for some reason, I always felt that if I kept this trolling motor plugged in, that it would draw the battery down a little bit too. Now I can't prove that, but even with the foot pedal off, it seemed to draw down the batteries. I'm not sure why, but one thing about these foot pedals, they're great to have. And you know, like on the tournament models of these bass trackers, these foot pedals have an area that is recessed that you can stick these pedals down into, which makes it easier, I suppose. But anymore, because this Ultrex has a motor on it, you're not fighting the cables like you used to in the old days with these trolling motors and the pedals. So actually operating this pedal is very easy. Now what I would recommend for all guys to do is to screw these things down to the floor. Not a big deal, but it keeps that pedal where it's supposed to be, and it's not going to flop around. And you just got to have these things secured to the deck. And I just use a panhead self-tapping screw. I believe it's the biggest you can get, I believe, is 2.5 inches, and that works pretty good. It bites enough into the floor where it holds this thing tight, and you don't have to worry about the pedal coming off the floor. I never did do a walk around on this either. One thing I'll show you here in these compartments is, you know, for me, there's plenty of storage available on these boats, even if you have two guys in the boat. But one thing I did do, you know, this is where I mounted my 5-port Ethernet switch from Humminbird. Gave me close access to my power and to my accessory switch. So this is not powered on either, like it would be if you'd connect it directly to the power. And you know, I kind of like to be able to turn things on and turn things off. But plenty of storage room in here. Um, and really, as far as the rest of the storage, you got plenty of compartments here. This front compartment I just use for my life vests and any odds and ends that I need to have in the boat. It comes with, this boat comes with 2 live wells, and this is the front live well that I use for tackle storage. You know, I disabled it, and from being a live well, just to keep my tackle. And I don't use a lot of tackle, so this works really well, and I've got an overflow in this compartment over here, and this compartment too. They're both considered rod lockers, but right now I don't have any rods in here. As the summer progresses and I fish water with more largemouth water than smallmouth water, which I'm accustomed to, I'll put some rods in here. Now, a lot of guys complain about this because they say, oh well, you know, you have to bend the rods to get them in and whatever. And I go, okay, that's fine, I don't have a problem with that. So there's the rear live well. Ample, lots of space, and it does come with a divider, but I removed that divider since I don't fish tournaments anymore, so I don't need to, you know, divide up the fish. And plus, you know, when I'm catching pike or when I'm catching walleyes, having that divider out of there really helps a lot. Give the fish plenty of area to swim around in. I talked about accessory switches. I've got this accessory switch right here, and that governs this rear unit, and it also governs the Ethernet switch. And I kind of keep this little voltmeter in here. It tells me what my voltage is on my cranking battery anyway, and because in the past I did have some leakage. I'm not sure where it came from, but my battery sure didn't last very long. But right now, after I've got all this set up, doesn't take much juice to run it at all. I mean, I'm only going out for 3 or 4 hours at a time right now, and very, very little drain on the battery, so I'm really happy about that. I do like this this strap that goes across to secure your telephone, because you can use your phone to do a number of activities on the boat. You know, I've got the Mercury module on the motor back there that gives me all my engine information that I can view through my phone, and I can also operate my GoPro with my phone as well. So having an area for the phone is kind of nice to have. And then, you know, if need be, I can plug in right here and keep my my GoPros charged up, or recharge my batteries as I'm using them. So again, there's plenty of storage in the boat. Under the seats there's storage. You know, don't put a lot in there. You know, I got a sweatshirt in there and a few other pieces and parts. And same with this. You know, there's plenty of storage here. Got an old Humminbird Helix 7 protective cover in here if anybody's interested in that. I might just throw that one out on eBay too. But plenty of storage here. And in the back, of course, it's got 2 little compartments. Now this is really what I use when I put ice in this. If I'm going to be out for a long day on hot days, this will hold ice for about 3 days. It's absolutely amazing. But for now, I just got my towels in there and I wipe the engine and boat down with after I've put it back on the trailer, and my rope to secure it to the docks and that sort of thing. And over here, I use it just for the storage of odds and ends, you know, pieces and parts and paperwork and maps and that sort of thing, sunscreen, and it works out real well for me. So this this boat is just absolutely amazing. You know, I still really like it. Back here, you know, you've got this huge 21.5 gallon gas tank, and I'm going to tell you what, this is a 4-stroke 60 horsepower version to come standard with these. Some people put 75s on them, but you know, for the additional money that they charge to put a 75 on one of these things, to get maybe 1 or 2 mile an hour more than I currently get, didn't make a lot of sense to me, so I stayed with the 60. The batteries here, I got 3 batteries because the Ultrex is a 24 volt system, the one I got, and so it needs you know, 2 deep cycle batteries. I mean, you can't see them both, but and then of course the cranking battery. These are the original batteries, and they've held up very well, and you just have to keep them maintained, keep them clean. I pull them out of the boat in the winter so I can keep them in the house where they're warm and on a charger all winter. So basically, you know, the only complaint that most guys have, and it's kind of irritating to me, is that, you know, this is a relatively small boat, and there isn't much room for fishing rods, you know, and you know, if it had a bigger deck, it would be nice, but anymore, if you have 7-foot rods, 6'9" rods, you know, you may want to put them on this side of the boat versus this side of the boat. But you know, I still use a lot of the rods from the old days, and a lot of them aren't as long as the newer ones. I haven't found it any more difficult to catch and land fish with the shorter rods as I did with the longer rods. So anyway, these are the upgrades that I did to the boat. And we'll just take another walk around the outside of the boat before I wrap this thing up. Okay, I'm back with you now. One of the things that a few of the guys asked about was this step here. This is the Bass Tracker step that they will provide you, and seems to come standard now on most of the Bass Trackers, but it did not with this, and I find this just extremely useful to get into the boat and out of the boat when I'm launching or when I'm putting it back on the trailer. It's a good step up to get into the boat. Now, I originally said in my first video that I got this from Minn Kota. I think, you know, that was a brain fart, but it came from Bass Tracker. Called them up, they gave me the part number, but I had to buy it from my dealership. They would not ship it to me. So, c'est la vie, that's the way things work. Now, with the adding of the Helix 10s, because they've got you know, Mega Imaging Plus down imaging and side imaging on these boats, I had to put a new transducer on, and which works really well. And the problem with these transducers is that they are designed for side imaging and down imaging. They aren't designed to give you details of the bottom when you're running with the boat. So anything over 5 to 8 to 10 miles an hour, you're going to lose bottom signal with these transducers. So it's just really a requirement. I found this out early on, that you pair it with another transducer. And Minn Kota, you know, provides you with Y cable that you can connect both of these transducers into one wire and then connect it to your head unit. So for anyone that wants to get a bottom view and depth and water temperature and that sort of thing, when you're running down the lake, you got to have this extra transducer on there. Something I didn't know originally, but kind of glad I did it and figured out why I was losing bottom signal. Even with my Helix 7s, I had that problem. So something to think about. If you're upgrading your electronics, especially to side imaging and down imaging. Even on the Helix 7s, much smaller transducer, but still had the same problems with losing the bottom when I was running down the lake. And I want to know the depth I'm at, and I want to know what's under the boat when I'm running across the lake. So the other thing that I did here was that I put these cargo locks on the boat, and I just don't like the original straps that came with this boat. For one thing, they're a knuckle buster, and so I decided I'd change that out. Now the problem when I put these on first was that the edges, these edges would lay right up against this trailer and this bracket here, and I didn't care for that. So in most dealerships and marinas, you can find adapter brackets to put on these. I bought these brackets, as you can see. I bought those at Bass Pro Shop, and what it does, it pushes the actual unit itself out further, so you don't have any problems with hitting this frame or even maybe taking out this lens. So you got to be careful with those kind of things too. So that's basically it. These are the upgrades for the boat. I don't think I'm going to do much more to this boat at all. Maybe sometime in the future I may think about Mega Live imaging. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. I've always been a guy that is more interested in fishing and finding out where the structure is in the water. And of course certain structures are going to hold the fish. But then it would also be kind of nice to actually see the fish and see how they're responding to your baits. But that's another $1,000 or so that at the time, at the moment, I'm not willing to shell out. So I can't think of anything more that I would do to this boat. And as I did say in the original walk around of this boat after I first got it, I did put this butt seat on it because I was always used to fishing out of a butt seat. And the seat that comes, the front seat that comes with it is exactly the same as this seat. The only problem for me is that I'm not a big guy, and that seat up in the front totally blinded me to what was in front of the boat when I was running the boat. So I couldn't even see if there were boats in front of me as I'm going down the lake. So this butt seat has helped immensely in that area. So for any of you guys that are not willing to shell out $40,000 to $80,000 for a glass boat and want something that's more in your price range, you just can't beat a Bass Tracker. But be warned that you're going to have to upgrade the electronics on these boats. Now some guys, they do just fine, and they're very happy with the rear sonar that comes with with the bass trackers, but you know, they don't come with anything on the front, and most of your fishing is going to be done standing up there in the front, especially if you're bass fishing. And even when I'm walleye fishing, you know, I cast the walleyes versus troll, so got to have something up front. So the only downside about these boats is that you're going to have to spend some money to put electronics on it. But other than that, you can't beat this boat. It's a light boat, and the thing about being light and having this 60 horsepower engine on there is that this does not burn much gas at all. Now, it's not like I'm fishing tournaments and I'm not out running 10, 20, 30 miles a day with this boat. I mean, I can, if I have to fill up my tank with, you know, over 20 gallons of fuel more than once a year, I am really doing a lot of running. In most cases, with as often as I get a chance to get out fishing, I can survive almost a whole season on one tank of gas. And anymore, being almost June of 2022, the price of gasoline here is going to be going up to about $6 a gallon, and there are forecasts of it going up to $10 a gallon. So actually mileage on these boats is going to make a lot of difference. And the other great thing about these bass trackers, these, at least the 175s, is they've got this trailer tongue that folds back, and you can fit it in the garage. It fits perfectly in my garage, and so I can save the money storing the boat in the winter and keep it in my garage all winter long, and then do all the maintenance and service on it myself, which is a no-brainer, really a no-brainer. And so anyone that's got restricted space requirements, or like me up here where I live, you know, there are ordinances here that I cannot keep the boat outside. I've got to either keep it in storage, or I've got to keep it in the garage. If I have this boat out for more than a couple days at a time, I can get fined, and they'll nail me on my property taxes. So I was kind of stuck with a small boat. I wouldn't mind a big boat, other than I couldn't afford it. But for the type of waters I fish up here in northern southern Michigan, this is the ideal boat to have. And shout out to Mega Power Sports and Marine, my dealer that provides me all the required service that I might need, and a lot of help. They've got great people working in the back on the boats, and very affable. Can walk into the back and talk to the technicians at any time. So great place, something to think about when you purchase a boat. Of course, the only other thing too is that you know, everybody pray for Ukraine. The people are being devastated there. The whole country is being devastated by these Russians. They call them the invaders. So anything you can do to help out with those people, it would be a good thing to do. And I personally know 3 people who live in Ukraine. 2 have already left the country, and 1 is still in Odessa, which is, for the time being, a pretty safe place to be. But I won't keep the politics out of this. So any questions, concerns, ideas, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. I'm not a big YouTuber. I don't do a lot of that kind of thing. I'm not an expert on it. You know, I get out and I make videos of when I'm fishing, and you know, that is when I catch the fish. So Still haven't figured out how to do all that stuff, but you know, it's fun, and so appreciate you guys stopping by, and let me know what your thoughts are. Take care. Have a good one.